Hey guys, it's TF Not. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're doing another action figure review. This is going to be of the brand new Marvel Legends series, part of the Disney Plus Infinity Ultron Build-A-Figure series, Mr. Knight from Moon Knight. Even though I pre-ordered this same time as the MCU Moon Knight figure, this one took much longer to come in compared to Moon Knight that I reviewed about last month. I don't know what it is with Amazon, the pre-orders. They've been taking forever lately. But I finally have it here. I haven't seen the greatest things about this particular figure, but I'm holding enough judgment for myself to finally get this out of the packaging. And speaking of the packaging, as you see here, it does say Marvel Legends series up at the top. You do get the figure in the box right there. You have the contents that this figure comes with. It also says Marvel Studios, Moon Knight, Mr. Knight, Disney Plus, as well as the Hasbro logo. On the top, you do see the crescent for Moon Knight's logo. It does say Build-A-Figure Infinity Ultron. You do have ages 4 and up, as well as a warning choking hazard. Now, on this side here, you have a really nice image, basically concept art of Mr. Knight right there, and I believe it is going to be reflected, yeah, on the other side. Now we look towards the back of the packaging. It's a different image here, but it's still really nice looking. And then we have a multilingual read-up if you want to pause and read that right now for Mr. Knight. It does say Marvel Legends series at the top. I love the old packaging here. This is the last series we're ever going to have it with, unfortunately. Here's all the figures in the series I reviewed. These two here, as well as Moon Knight, and then we have the Infinity Ultron. And then you can see where it says Build-A-Figure Infinity Ultron. Multilingual warnings and all that. Now, if you're looking for this figure, I haven't been able to find the Moon Knight figures in stores, but some of them have been hitting my target. So here's a barcode in case you need it if you want to screenshot that. Let's go ahead and get this figure out of the packaging. Here's the figure out of the packaging, and honestly, I don't hate it. Now, I don't love it, unfortunately, but I don't think it's as bad as I thought it was going to be. I have a few minor nitpicks on my particular figure, and then there's an issue that I feel like is going to be consistent with a lot of people's figure. We'll talk about that in a second. Let's go ahead and take a look at the accessories. Don't take a close look at the figure. Now, first things first, with a lot of Marvel Legends reviews, we have the Build-A-Figure piece, the right arm to Infinity Ultron. I might as well build the rest of this figure because I actually saw Miss Marvel and She-Hulk in my stores, at my Target stores recently. I haven't seen Sharon Carter in person yet, but perhaps I'll just hunt her down online, hopefully for decent prices. But everything looks pretty good. I think that some of the silver could look a little bit better, but I don't think it's god-awful either. I might as well wait to talk about this whenever I eventually do a review. It might be later on down the line if I even decide to do a review of it by then. If I could try to hold these and then zoom in for you guys. These are a little bit bright because of the light and the fact that these are just straight up white, but we do have these alternate hands. These are gripping hands for the batons. You can see there's a little bit of wrinkles sculpted onto the back of the hands. It does not look like there are fingerprints, fingernails, I should say, which should be accurate. You know, this hand should be covered up, so that's good. And I don't think these are reused from anything. These could be retooled. I don't know for sure, and I'm not going to blame them if these are reused, retooled, whatever it may be. We have a little bit of wrinkling on the inside of the palms as well. Pretty good details throughout the whole, throughout both hands, I should say. And we'll talk about articulation a little bit later, but as you can see, they have the up and down disc for these, so that's good. And then we also have the batons, which are also the exact same. I believe they're the exact same sculpt. I think I gotta see if the markings are the exact same. I believe they are. They might just be ever so slightly different based on how they were molded in the factory, I guess. But these things look really nice. So I think that they're molded in this silver plastic similar to the Build-A-Figure piece. But I think they look good. There might be a little bit of some messiness, like whatever's going on up here. Looks like they chopped something there. But the actual gold on the tips at the end, actually not really the tips, but at both ends are really nice. It looks like there's a little bit of gold that's missing from some parts, which I'm not going to knock too much. It could look like it's worn. Yeah, the gold has been worn off, I should say. I think there might be, I don't know if it's however it came out of the factory or not, but there might be a little bit of sculpting at the ends here. I'm not entirely sure, but again, the markings on here, though, they're actually pretty nicely detailed. It's a little bit hard to see some of it, but these things still look really, really awesome. So I think they did a good job on the accessories. So first of all, the white on this figure is so bright when it hits the lights in my room that, yeah, I have to turn the brightness down a lot so the background does look a little bit dark in this review. Second, this could have been a great opportunity again to get an Oscar Isaac head sculpt, and you could have used it with this figure and the regular Moon Knight figure, but we did not get that, unfortunately. Pop that off, that flew. So I didn't do the greatest job modding it, but I did mod a little bit of this like 2015, 2016 Poe Dameron Black Series head sculpt, since it's the same actor. And, you know, it's not the greatest. I think the sculpt is fine. The paint, this is before face printing. So honestly, an archive series Poe Dameron would be nice just to get a nice updated face sculpt, and we can use that for our Moon Knight, I guess. Or they'll eventually make a Moon Knight with an Oscar Isaac head sculpt. I don't know. But there's your option right there, I guess. And there's also custom head sculpts you can get. One thing I do want to look at is just the biggest not really the biggest complaint. I have another big complaint. But one of the bigger complaints is the eyes. Look at that. Straight on. That pupil is not good. Oh, boy. Looking pretty cockeyed. And on a character that doesn't have, like, I kind of expect it with like Captain America figures sometimes, just because they get those eyes wrong. Not lately, but like they used to get those eyes wrong all the time. But I don't know. I just feel like with something like this where you don't have that many features to show, like there's not a mouth, there's not a nose or anything. You can kind of see those details, but it's covered in a very basic type of design. I feel like they shouldn't mess up the eyes that much. So, wow, yeah, I don't like that. But I do like the actual color that they used for the light blue, and the actual pupil color is really nice. They have this printing of like this light gray on the crescent all the way down the face on these markings or stitches, whatever that's supposed to be. They do have a sculpted line going all the way down the skull. It veers off towards the right of his body right there, as you can see. It looks like a little bit of stitching in there too. I might have to turn the brightness down even more so you can see some of these bumps and wrinkles throughout the head sculpt here that they have sculpted. It's not extremely detailed, but you look close enough and there is some texturing on the actual helmet. A little bit of bone structure coming through as well. So the actual sculpt is not bad. It's just those eyes, man. We do have this extra piece sculpted for the neck with some wrinkles around there as well. Like 3 different whites are going on here. We have a little bit of almost like a cream color for the soft plastic vest and jacket. And then we have this tie. And then we have more of like almost a pure white on the hard plastic collared piece. Or collared shirt, I should say. I don't think the mix of all these is too bad. I think that... I don't remember if it's all supposed to be exactly one color of white from the show. But I think that the actual colors chosen here, you know, this is consistent with the arms, the jacket arms, so that's good. I actually really like how these buttons are done with some nice markings there. There's some texturing in the white. It's just that like the vest looks a little bit plain just because it's molded in this color, and there's not much paint going on here. I'll back out a little bit, as you can see. I don't know if this is reused. I could grab one real quick and figure out. This might be a little bit retooled. No, I don't think... it might be retooled, but it's definitely not the exact same as like a normal suit body. Like the back, you can see some of the wrinkles are very different with how they're formed. There's some different variations of wrinkles towards the top of the back of the neck here. And then you have one seam line going all the way down. The pockets are sculpted pretty nicely. You have this little handkerchief sculpted in there as well. And then we have these markings and these pieces here for the, whatever this would be called on the blazer. And I think the tie actually has some really good sculpting too, if you can see that. Again, the light might... No matter how dark I turn this, I think it eventually is going to get way too dark and you're just not going to look good. So I'm trying to figure out, with just how bright this figure is, the best lighting here. Wrinkles in the arms all the way down here. We have some painted silver buttons on the sides, looking nice. And we have these fists that he came packaged with some wrinkles in the back of the hand. If I can zoom in a little bit, you can see that. Back of the hand again, some wrinkles. And a little bit of wrinkling towards like the wrists and the palms where the fingers are clenched and all of that. I feel like the proportions of the arms are too skinny compared to the rest of the body. I feel like the legs are very nicely proportioned. And again, I think the arms are way too skinny. Man, that is really dark, isn't it, in the background? I looked as hard as I can compared to the MCU Disney Plus Loki, and I think the arms are just ever so slightly a different sculpt. They look very similar with some of the wrinkles, but it does look like Loki's arms are a little bit thicker. Honestly, I can tell that these are not exactly the same arms, and I think that it would have been better to use Loki's. I don't know, I could be tripping. It just looks like Loki's are a little bit thicker compared to this, and I feel like definitely when it gets towards the elbows, I think it just looks way too small. A lot of people have had problems with the soft plastic jacket piece here, and I don't blame you guys. It's way too big and bulky, and it just looks like there's a lot of space. In person, you push it down a little bit, it doesn't look that bad. I've seen people cut this entire vest piece off here, and it does look actually kind of good, but I don't know if I want to do that and ruin my entire figure. I want to speed up the process here the rest of the way. I don't think these legs are reused, because I also compared it to Loki, and the biggest difference, of course, is going to be printing, but I do think the actual sculpt, especially down towards the cuffs, they are a little bit different. I don't know if this exactly would be called a cuff, but there's just a bunch of paint marks towards the bottom half of this figure, around the crotch, whatever's going on with this orange right here on the side. What is going on there? I don't know what it is with white figures, but there's like a bunch of pink too. That's kind of ugly. And then we get towards down here, and there's a big old black scuff right there on the shin. So the bottom half of the figure, I don't know what's going on here, but the wrinkles are decent. Pinless tech is pretty nice as well. The wrinkles towards the bottom are really nice. And then we have his shoes that actually have some pretty nice, I guess would be wrappings. I don't know if these would be sandals. I don't exactly know what they're supposed to be called, but these type of shoes are really good looking. They're just molded in this color though. A little bit of texturing around here, like some bumps to make it look, I guess, a little bit like leather. In the back of the sole right there, and then the bottom of the feet, there's not much going on. So some of the paint apps, yeah, they're not great looking on this figure, unfortunately. And mostly, like, this isn't even painted. Most of this is molded in these colors. So there's very minimal paint, and then somehow they got a bunch of markings in the plastic on here, and that's just really bad. I'm not a big fan of that. I know I sound like I'm complaining a little bit too much based on very minor markings, but like, if you're not going to put paint on this figure, there's no reason for there to be any kind of paint or whatever's going on with the plastic to begin with. I'm going to try to speed up the articulation process because the head actually moves up pretty far, down really nice too. There's a little bit of space in there to move around, just a little bit like it's pivoting, and then a swivel. So it's on the traditional hinge and ball system there. Now the arms are notoriously, they don't really like to go out that much on this figure, but it goes out. I think they sculpted a little bit of space in there to make it move out a little bit more, so that's good. Arms go all the way around. They do get double jointed elbows, a little bit gummy around the elbows, swivel at the wrist as well as a hinge at the wrist. You got to see that the other sets of hands have an up and down disc. We should have a hinge, but it doesn't really want to go forward at all because of that soft plastic piece. I might have to cut it. And that's what the back, moving looks like. And this is a soft plastic piece too, I forgot to mention. Swivel this around, that's fine. Legs are really tight for some reason on my figure at the T-joint. Back doesn't want to go out at all. Splits are decent. Now, this might be some of the most tight upper thighs I've ever owned on a figure, at least in recent memory. These are way too ridiculously tight to where it feels like this is going to pop out of the hip socket at any moment. It's like this for both legs. I don't understand what's going on. And the knees are crazy tight too. I mean, I guess that's nice in case you want to keep a certain pose, but they're also, feel a little bit ratchety in some areas to where it wants to keep one position like this and this. The in-between can be a little bit hard to get sometimes. So, yeah, I don't really like that. But we do have a swivel at the ankle, which is nice. The down motion, you can move the feet a little bit. It can go all the way down. That's good. The up motion, it's a little, the cuff of the pants is hindering it a little bit. But we do have ankle rockers. Quickly measuring out the figure, it looks like we're getting pretty close to 16.5 centimeters. That's going to make this a pretty standard size Marvel Legends figure, standing at roughly 6.5 inches tall. I have the other Infinity Ultron figures I have so far in the series, and over on the far left, the black suit Spider-Man. I don't know why, But the normal Moon Knight is taller than Mr. Knight. It doesn't seem by much, but it is a significant amount, like a couple centimeters taller. And they really should have retooled a decent amount of Mr. Knight to make it taller, just as tall as Moon Knight. But as you can see, Mr. Knight is just ever so slightly shorter than Hawkeye, a little bit taller than Kate Bishop, and a little bit shorter than Black Suit Spider-Man. Overall, I am pretty disappointed with this figure the more I kept playing around with it. Unfortunately, I don't think it's god-awful. I don't even know if I would put it on the worst Marvel Legends of the year, because I don't even know if I got that many Marvel Legends to make a list like that. But I was holding out hope that this wasn't going to be disappointing, because it looked disappointing to me before it came out, and I am pretty disappointed, unfortunately. The good things about this figure is that I do like the pinless tech on the legs. The shoes are nice, as well as I don't think that the soft coat system is all that bad. It's a little bit bulky, and it looks like there's a little bit too much space in some areas, but the actual sculpting on it is pretty nice. The head sculpt has pretty good sculpting too. The rest of it, though, I'm pretty sure the arms are not proportioned very well. My eye is cockeyed on the right side of the figure, unfortunately, and there are a bunch of blemishes towards the legs, the pink and orange and black I showed off earlier, that just should not be there. I know I seem like I'm harping on a little too much, but the new standard is 25 bucks, and it seems like that standard is going down with some of these Marvel Legends. They weren't super duper amazing with some of the paint before, but at least it wasn't as god-awful as what it's been lately with some of these figures. I do think that the accessories are pretty nice, especially batons. I like those a lot, but overall, I forgot to mention this, joints are really stiff on my figure. Overall, I'm just pretty disappointed with this figure. If you still want to get it no matter what, I'll leave links down in the description below. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Comment down below what you think about the figure, what you think about the review. Leave a like, share amongst your friends. Follow me on Instagram for more content over there, and I'll see you guys later.